Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's a good turnout, which is amazing. Let me introduce my name first. So my name is Amy Lawson. I'm an HR consulting manager for EQ Consultants and HR today. And right next to me here is Carly Cosgrove. So Carly is our system consultant for HR today. So I think today what we're going to talk about is basically show you an overview of our HR Today platform. I'll let you know a little bit about the agenda. So first of all, we're going to give an overview of, because there's some people who's joined that might not know what HR Today is. So I'll just talk briefly about that. And then after that, Carly will then go into the platform and then we can show you inside out about what the platform look like. And at the end, there will be a session for Q&A. So if you have any questions, feel free to type it into the Q&A box and then we'll reply to your question at the end. I'm quite mindful that we have 45 minutes today. So when we go into the platform, we might not go into into all the details. We will give you an overview. However, in the next year, we will have a webinar like this that will go into each functionality one by one. At that time, we can spend more time into each different section. So let me give you a little bit of an overview of what HR Today is. So I'm sure a lot of you would know us as an EQ consultant. So EQ consultants, if you don't know, EQ consultants is basically a HR consulting firm. So we'll do everything from organizational review, change management process or restructures, to recruitment, to leadership training, to all sort of employment relations. However, what we found while we're doing that is that a lot of time when a client come to us, where we are kind of like an ambulance at the end of the cliff. So a lot of time things is about to explode, and or when you get into things like personal grievance or anything like that, it's time cost, it's stress, it's money. So this is why we were like, this is why we created this new product called HR Today. So what HR Today is basically is it's subscription based. So if you subscribe to us, we will provide you with an unlimited HR advice. So you can give us, any of our members can give us a call as much as they want. And another thing that we also give you guys is also a document template. So like invitation letters or warning letters, any sort of HR or employment related template, we'll provide that to you. And also another thing that we provide is what we call knowledge base. Hopefully some of you might have seen that sending out every Tuesday. So that is our knowledge base to keep you up to date on what we do or on new legislations or all the changes, which hopefully seems like the news lately. And in the very near future, we might need to look at our trial period laws soon. Other than that, I think for us, another thing about our HR Today is we want to make sure that we provide, I think the vision for us is to become an provide end-to-end HR services for all of our clients. And this is why we get into the tech side of things where we create our HR platform as well. So in our HR platform, what we want to do, I think the four main goals is, first of all, is to help all of our members or our clients streamline their HR process and also have this platform as one sort of truth. Because a lot of time when we talk to our clients, sometimes maybe they might have an employee that joined 6 years, 10 years ago. And then if something comes up, they couldn't find their IEAs or the documents. This platform here will be a cloud-based, so everything will store in one place. Another thing that we create this platform is because we also want to help a client reduce all the risks and errors as well. Like I said before, because we're a consulting firm, so we get a lot of phone call from our clients. So when we design this platform, we design it by ourselves. So we're looking at, what are sort of errors or mistakes that most of our clients usually make without actually knowing they're doing it. And we use that as a basis of how we design this platform. Another thing that we want to do is that we want to also help strengthen our client relationship, because I think when you join the platform, like I said, with HR today, you can give us a call for advice anytime. And when you give us a call, we also, let's say if you call about John is being late, instead of having to ask you, oh, can you send this information or that information, we'll have ability to go into the back end and look at John's details and also all of his employment history, so we can give you a more targeted approach or a more targeted solution for you. Lastly, which is one thing that we do have ability to, if you like to make use of it, is that because in the platform you collect all those data, we do have abilities to looking into, if you want us to, we can look into all those data and analyze it for you, because we have a team to do that and provide it as your people insight. So when you design on people strategies or any future strategies, you'll be able to make use of that. So that's why we create this platform. I'm going to hand you over to Carly, so Carly can go into more details on how this one's being used.
Perfect. Thank you, Amy. So we're going to start off by just discussing some of the user types that are within HR today. So these are really some of the terms that we use as we go through the platform itself. If you have any questions as we start going through the platform, though, feel free to throw in those into the Q&A box, and we'll have Amy mediating that. So that is there. So our user types consist, there's 4 different key user types. So first of all is the primary admin. So that will be the people within your organization who have that overview of everything and have the ability to change default values within the system. We have company contacts. So anybody in that list will have the authority to call us and access our HR support, and as well as the help desk support. We have signatories. So those are the authorized users who will be able to sign employment agreements or letters. And then we have key contacts, who are the people that can assign new company contacts. So I will jump into the system now and show you what we're looking at. So this is HR today. As our CEO account shows, there's quite a few processes we need to action. But before we get into that, I'm going to go through the company overview. So we do have 4 different modules as well within the platform. So we have an onboarding module, a variation module, case management, and offboarding. And so once I go through the company setup, I'll give you a rundown of all 4 of those models and go from there.
Yeah, just a little bit for me to add. I think we start off with the 4 models. However, we do have a pathway to add on more models in the near future. So this is our very first version, but we do have a roadmap on what we want to develop the system in the future as well.
Thank you, Amy. So as any company would come in and we would set them up as their trading name, legal name, some of the industry and contact information. We'd also assign each company with a primary HR consultant. So this is going to be your primary person who will be there to support you through all of your HR needs. We're doing this to help to build the relationship between your company and ourselves so that we can give you more targeted advice based on what your needs are. We also, as I was saying before, set up those primary admins. So usually there's 2 or 3 people, depending on what your business needs are, who will have the ability to go in and have that overarching view of the system. Next up, we have the contacts. So as I was also mentioning, this is that list of people within your organization who have the authority to contact us. Our first point of call, if you were to call us, would be to check this list to make sure we have the authority to release information to that individual. If they're not on that list, we'd make sure to contact one of our key contacts to just relay the information that we've been presented with. We then set up under the company the departments within your organization, as well as the positions. And against the positions, we load in all your position descriptions as well. So this will make it a bit easier. So rather than searching for the most up-to-date position description for each role, you'll have it all stored in one place. The final step of the company setup is to assign who your signatories are, as well as go through some of the default values that will pull through into the other models of the platform. So we have the Kiwi Saver contribution rate, your pay cycles, your annual leave entitlements. If your business had any rotating rosters, we can add that in. And we also add in your agreements here. So as part of the onboarding process, we do review all of your employment agreements and make sure that they are up to date with the latest legislation. From there, what we do is we pull out what's called the standard terms of your employment agreements. And so these are the terms that remain the same regardless of what position is being employed. Any of the non-standard terms, as we call them, will populate through into a third schedule, and those are all decided in the onboarding model. So I will pop into onboarding now, and we'll show you what that looks like when you want to bring on a new staff member. For the sake of time, I have pre-populated some of the information, so we'll just talk through some of the key areas. Once it loads, there we go. So when you are bringing on a new employee, so this would be when you're ready to send out that letter of offer and generate an employment agreement, this is where you'd come. So you start off by filling in any of the asterisk areas. So those are all the required fields. However, if you do have street address and some of the other information as well, you're more than welcome to enter that now. Otherwise, the employee would be able to do it down the road. So all of our models follow the same timeline. So they start in a draft phase. They would then go to an approval phase, which is when the signatory would be able to review the information and approve the time. It then gets sent to the employee, where the employee would have a username and password generated so that they would have access to their own version of the platform. Once the employee has signed and accepted, it goes back to an HR review phase, which is where the initial drafter of the process would have a final review. They'd be able to set up some tasks associated with that onboarding, and then it would go into a complete phase. So as I was saying, all the required information needs to be filled out. This does include residency status. So whether or not the employee is or is not a citizen or permanent resident, we want to make sure we track that ahead of time rather than once a letter of offer has been sent out. So that can all be tracked in here, as well as the visa expiry. We then go into the employment details. So this is where you just input what department they're a part of, who their manager is going to be, and their position, where the position description will pull through as well. We can then add any benefits or incentives of the role. So if there was a vehicle required, you do have options to change whether it is company use, full personal use, reasonable personal use, and so on, as well as some free text fields where you can enter in some specifics of either requirements or benefits of the job. After that is employment status. So again, we have quite a few options to choose from depending on the nature of the role. In this case, it's a permanent full-time position. You can then enter in what their notice period would be, the annual leave entitlement, which pulls through from the default value in the companies tab. However, this can be edited at any time. We then have any sort of roster. So if you did have a roster system within your organization, you could choose that. Otherwise, it would just be a standard weekly with, for example, 40 hours a week. Next up is the remuneration. So anything from a salary or an hourly rate can be entered here. Again, the default values for a company Kiwi Saver contribution and pay cycle will pull through from your company profile. Next step will be to conduct offer letter. Yeah, it will be to compile the offer letter. So as Amy was saying, part of our offering is we do provide letter templates for all things in the HR stage. So one of those is offer letter templates. So we do have various offer letter templates to match with the different role types. So these can be, this is just a base point that you can start out with that we would recommend using. However, it is a free text field, so you can delete fields that aren't required to your position. We then have to select who a signatory is for this role. In this case, I'm going to select myself to do this. And we'll get rid of that probationary clause as well. Once our letter is in shape, we then just have to select that employment agreement that we want to use, and we'll generate the drafts.
Well, like you see before, that the employment agreement was loaded against the company. So this is where we select the employment agreement from there, which Carly spoke about, standard term. Once we generate drafts, which the system will then, what the system will do is will pull out all of the details that we just put in into and then produce an offer letter, employment agreement, and position description.
Will be offer letter for you. So anything that was in a square bracket within the offer letter template gets replaced with information within our that we've previously inputted, and then we end up with who the signatory is at the bottom. So once we're satisfied with how all of our documents are looking, we just need to send it for approval, which is when the signatory would get notification that they have a process they need to action.
Well, I think in certain case, the person who created a draft and the one that approved could be the same person if you're a smaller business. However, there will be maybe a medium to a larger business where maybe the manager is the one creating drafts and then sent to the CEO or the owner to sign. So this is where this step comes into.
So in the approval stage, none of the information can be changed. In order for changes to happen, it does need to be sent back to that draft phase. As Amy was mentioning, we do this so that we do lock down the information so that if I were to draft something and send it to Amy, for example, Amy couldn't go in and change things without me knowing. So this is just a chance for that approver to go through and make sure that they are on the same page with all the information that's being submitted to the candidate. And they would be able to view those draft documents as well. Once they were happy with that, they would just need to come in and do a signature there. We then would generate the approved documents. And
I think it's the same thing. Just with the signature, we do have abilities that you can add your PDF file with your signature as well, so you don't need to actually properly sign every time. So that I think Carly will show you that later on. In terms of generate buttons, I think this is one of the most important things in the platform because that's when you set the button that you tell the system to, right, I'm happy with the information and put in. Now I want to generate the document.
Within the drafted employment agreement, or the approved employment agreement, I should say, we have the third schedule, which is where all those non-standard terms are going to be pulled through into. So this is anything from those vehicle usage or other benefits that are associated with the role. And then we have the acceptance page. So we can see that the CEO signature has pulled through straight onto this page, as well as the date.
I think we kind of configure our IEAs in this way because what we see that maybe in the older version of the IEAs, all the varied information are in different pages. And certain times, especially if you use a Word file, you have to go in and then find each different pages just so you can change all those information. What we're trying to do is we pull all those information out and put it in one page. So this is just to eliminate the errors. And you know that this is a page that if I'm going to give anyone contract, I need to go to that page and double checks and triple checks, but it's all in one page.
Great. The last step of the of this process so far is to send an offer notification to the employee. So the employee will get an email, which would contain their link to the portal, as well as a login name and a password. And so they'll be able to log in and view all these documents. So I will just send that to the employee. And then I'll take you over to the employee view. So the employee would be able to log in, and they have a much more simplistic view of the platform. So they'll see they have a process they need to action, which is the onboarding. So once they click into this and it loads, they'll have instructions on what they need to do and which steps they need to complete as part of their acknowledgement of the documents. So they have some fields that they do have the ability to change, such as preferred name, title, address. However, legal items such as first name and last name and residency status, that is locked down, so that if that does need to be adjusted, they would need to notify their manager. The employee can then add any emergency contacts, their bank account details, as well as IRD and Kiwi Saver details. So this will populate those IR330 forms and the KS2 form for on your behalf. The employee also has access to those offer letters, the employment agreement, and the position description as part of this. Once they are in agreement with all the terms, they would just need to sign. And then again, they have to generate their signed agreement, which will pull through onto that employment agreement, as well as into the Kiwi Saver and IRD forms.
So I think for the employees, all they need to come in, which I think the way we define the platform is we're trying not to have too many buttons for them to actually need to pick. But the basis about how we design the platform is we'll make sure that it's easy and it's simple to use. So if you see the employee portal before, there's only one link that they can click in and they will go straight into this page. They can actually check all of them if they're happy with the contracts or not. Once they're happy, then they can add in all of the pre-employment details like tax codes like Harley said.
Perfect. So once they're happy, it's just a matter of submitting that. Oh, it should the IR33. Yeah. Sorry. So they would just send those documents back, and this would send back to the their employer. So I'm just going to switch back to that employer view, and we'll carry on. So we can now see that Dan Workman down here is in the HR review phase. So this is where we can just go through again, make sure all the information has been entered correctly and we're not missing anything. Again, information can't be changed in this phase. So if there was something that maybe a phone number left off in the emergency contacts for that sort of thing that you wanted to confirm with the employee, you would have to send that back to the employee to fix or adjust. The final step of onboarding is an optional step, but we have something called task lists that we can set up for your company. So there's various task lists that can be selected from. In this case, we'll just show you a standard onboarding task list. This could be anything from generating like a welcome email to the employee or letting them know, like the IT department know that there's a new employee starting and we need a laptop and phone and email address. So they know, so the employee doesn't arrive the first day and have to set that up themselves.
Yeah.
So with the task list, once we have these set up, which are quite company specific, it will just be a matter of going into each of the tasks and setting the date that you want that to happen on. And so for this case, it's a welcome email. So we want this to happen the week before the employees start. And then you just flick through and adjust the dates on each of the tasks that you want and when you want them to send.
So I think the task list is something you kind of pre-populate because you know that it's quite common. It's like, let's say if someone new is going to start, you're going to need email address, you're going to need laptop, you're going to need to set up a desk. You can go into task list and set it up. Task list also has a thing that we call action, if you could see that. So the action is something that you assign to certain people. So it can be a manager, it can be the actual employees, or it can be a specific user. Like for us, we use external IT people, so we can add external IT people if we want to order a laptop or a headphone or anything. We can set it up on there as well.
Once the task list is all set up, it's just a matter of selecting begin, and the system will then be searching for those dates to arrive. When they arrive, either those emails or actions will be sent out to the relevant people, and they'll get notification that way.
Yeah. I think the most important thing about onboarding is that I think I'm not sure if you guys do it, but prior to using this, even us, we're doing it as well. So we have an IEAs in a Word files, and then you change it. Once you create a contract, then you need to print it out into PDF, and then you go into your Outlook or your Gmail just so you can attach it in and send it to the employee. And that is quite a lot of step, even though we've been using it, but is that a good use of our time? When we decide this, so we'll say, why don't we just put everything in one place, and you can sign, send everything all in one place. Employee also come into the portal on their own access as well, and everyone will be signed and saved against their employee profile straight away.
Exactly. So the next model we'll run through is the variation of employment. So this is where you'd come if we're varying remuneration, hours, management reporting line, the position, or team allocation. So again, it's just a matter of selecting which employee you're wanting to have a variation for, when that effective date would be. So in this case, it's a post-dated one. We can also have an end date, if maybe for a period of time when somebody's off to Europe overseas for 3 months, and this employee would be taking over for just a set period of time. We can add an end date in there so that once that end date comes, the employee would revert back to their original position. The employment details will pull through from their existing details that are saved against their profile. So it's just a matter of coming in and adjusting what needs to be changed. So, for example, this employee might be going from a full-time to a part-time role. Again, some of these defaults do pull through, but as part of their employment, you can adjust this at any point. You can select who their manager is if that needs to change, as well as any of those benefits or other text. We can then go through and adjust those working hours. So again, this pulls through from our saved information against the employee. So if we're going from a full-time to a part-time role, maybe we're going down to 24 hours a week. And we can even define which days that employee is doing those hours on. So it could be just a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday schedule, and be able to define that here as well. Remuneration, again, we can adjust if that's required for the role, as well as any of the contribution rates, pay cycle. And then we get into an offer of employment again. So this will be for a letter of variation. So again, this is just a free text field. So we can go through and adjust as per what the requirements are for your for the role. Anything that's in the yellow is there to bring your attention to that and say you need to action this or change this. And again, anything in those brackets will automatically pull through from the information that's been loaded. The rest of the stages for variation follow the exact same process as the onboarding phase. So from draft to approval to employee approval to HR review to complete. So since it's the same, I'm going to stop the variation here. But as Amy said, look forward in the new year for a more in-depth webinar featuring the variation of employment.
You might realize that the reason that the stages look the same because we're trying to keep all the stages in the same thing. So when you learn the system, it's not like you need to relearn every functions or every modules that we create. We're trying to keep it one simple step. So once you learn, you will be able to kind of take it as a principle so you can easily guide through in any other modules that we create.
So now I'm going to pass it back to Amy, and she's going to talk you through our case management model.
So this is our case management model. This is one of the models that we spend quite a bit of time in creating this. When we talk about case management, a lot of time people would say, oh, so do we need to wait until something already explodes or when someone's have already maybe misconduct or abandonment or those things. What I would say is actually case management can be used more wider than that. And I always use this example. I'm sorry, Carly. So let's say if Carly here, if Carly has been late every Friday for the past 3 weeks, I might actually start, like as an employer, I might actually want to be proactive and keep the data in here just so we can kind of track things in, which I'll show you in details. So when the time comes when Carly actually late every Friday for 5 weeks, then I can actually start taking actions and everything is there for me to start using. Today we're going to use one of the same example here, which I pre-populate, so it saves time, but I'll talk you through what it is. So this is a case management model. The reason we created is because we're experiencing in the past that, let's say something like performance management. One case, if you issue warning, is stay there for 12 months, and you might need to have a review every 3 months or 6 months. What for us, the experience that we see with our clients, and I think the client also thinks the same thing, is that when we create a meeting for the first time, we send out back and forth all the evidence and all the email chains, and sometimes you reply to the emails, and then you have a meeting and you don't have another meeting for another 3 months. When that 3 months roll around, both of us sitting there, looking at each other and say, so what was the latest document that we use? Is it your ones, or is it my one, or is it our one? Where does it store? This is why we create this case management. So we call it a single sort of truth for not just you guys, but also for us to use as well. So this is a case management. The case, so you can choose who is related to. You can also search them as well. In this case, it's going to relate to manager violent. In this case, the managers, what I said in here, has potential aggressive behavior. So it's actually manager violent has maybe shown an aggressive behavior toward John Doe. When I come in here, you will see that you can select case type, and there's plenty of case type that you can use. So there's discrimination, there's serious misconduct, any case you can put them in here. If you can't find any categories, you can put it in as other and then kind of identify it here in the title. Next is severity. So severity, you will see here that says low, medium, high, and critical. But this is how you interpret that case. You will see that we don't have any actual description for all the cases. The reason being is because we understand that if the managers knew, maybe they might not be dealing with, let's say Carly's late again. I am a new manager, has never dealt with Carly being late before. It could be high or critical for me. However, for any experienced managers, seeing this thing happen over and over again, for them, it could be low. And we're happy for them. We're happy for you guys to choose whichever you feel comfortable to. The reason we're doing that is because if you choose any high or critical, which I'm going to just go ahead and click on it, you will see here that my name, which I load against the company as a dedicated consultant, will pop up in here. That's me. If you create any case, we will be able to actually kind of keep an eye on it or help you have an overview on the case. However, if you say, well, I want to choose high because it's high, but I don't want any, we don't want Amy's, the external consultants to know, then you can just delete me out of it as well. With the case management, what we found, but however, we also encourage you to give us a call as much as possible, because I feel like, especially in HR, sometimes you might already know the answer to the questions, but sometimes bouncing ideas is also good, or we can also give you kind of an example of how we deal with the case or show you the strategy or the approach on how to resolve the case as well. What we found so far is that a lot of time when the client join us in HR today, as an HR Today members, they might give us a call quite a lot in the very beginning. The question could be more on the kind of not very complex questions. However, the more they give us a call, one thing that we do is we also help train them and educate them as well. So this way, after 6 months or after a year, whenever the same client call, what we found is that the question become more complex because they actually understand HR better. So if you're HR today members, I would absolutely encourage you to make use of our help center. The next is assigned to. So assigned to is a person that will lead the case, which in this case, we're going to assign to the CEO. However, we'll say that this is quite a serious case. We want the CFO to kind of be a collaborator and keep an eye on it as well. So anyone who load in as a collaborator, when there's an update on this case, they will get sent, they will be CC into any emails or any letters or any update in this case. So if you have anyone as a collaborator, just add them in there. And in some details down here, you can attach any evidence or any letters or anything in here. So in here, I attach the photos. So if you want to review the photos, it will pop up in here. So I'm just going to show you.
Another important thing to note is that the employee doesn't have view of this. So it's only locked down to those members that are either the leading the case or our collaborators. So we want to do that. So in case an employee was to make a case against their manager, the manager wouldn't be able to go in and see what was happening. So
good point, Carly. So the reason that we lock it down like that, you will see that this case is related to the manager violate. It could be that employees complain about the managers. When the CEO loaded in this manager violate, even though the hierarchy is saying that this violate will be able to see everyone within the team, but it's not the same permission in the case management. Only people who load in here will be able to see the case, unless it become a public knowledge. Like if we send out an invitation letter to the managers, and the manager will be able to see just the letter. Down here is commentary. So we create this one so that the ideal case is that we use it instead of our email. So everything will stay in one place. All of our communication, whether it's from you guys or whether it's from us, it will stay in one place. So when we revisit it again, we know that this is the most recent communication. In saying that, if you already use the platform, one thing that we always let our client knows is that just be careful on what wording you use. Just make sure it's remain professional, just in case if the case go into PGs or anything, the lawyer might be able to request those informations. So let's say this the CEO created the case, as the CEO knows that because it's misconduct, the CEO needs to invite the managers to the meeting. Another option that we could do is there's what we call letters here. So you can click add, and like I said, we provide all of the letter templates. So if you want to create an invitation letter, you can come in here and then type in invitation letters, and then choose the one that you want to use, and then display letters. It'll be here signatory. So same deal with what happened in the onboarding. You can choose who you want to sign the letters. Thank you. A rule of thumb for us is if you use any of templates, anything that highlights in yellows need your attention. These are the things that you need to change. So you can come in here, change all of the letters. Like Carly said, it's text form, so you can type anything in there once you type it. However, because it's misconduct, maybe you might want us to run our eye through it. What you could do is you type the letters and then you can click save, and then you can come down here. Because I am your dedicated consultant, you can say in the commentary to say, hi Amy, will you please review the letter for me? And then you can add the comment. What would happen is the system will then send an email notification to me so that I can see the comment that you added, and I know that I need to come in. So what I'll do is I'll just log into my own accounts, go into the case, click on the letters templates. I'll review it. If I want to make any changes, I'll make changes, and then I could just click save. When I save, I can let you know, or I can type it back into commentary here that the letter is ready. You can come in and sign. Because at the moment we use the CEO account, so CEO can come in, sign it, and again, you'll see that generate button again. So that is one of the most important buttons there in our platform. Once you click generate button, the letter will then the letter will then populate, and all the details will be in there, also with the signature down there as well. And then the next step is, so now the letter is ready, we need to send to the employee. So we'll go into the notification template here and say that it's document for employee to review. What the system will then do, once it sends to the employee, you will see that you will see the email stamp here that says, so you know that the email has been sent at this date and this time. And the employee view, what they will receive is an email coming from you, because you're the main user. It will be an email from you, and the letter will be attached in the PDF folder for them to review straight away. They don't need to come into the platform to do that. So let's say that you already have a meeting with the employee, and the outcome of the meeting is to actually give this manager Violet warning letters. What do you do? What you do is you come back to the case again and go to the same letters, and then you can add as many letters as you want, and then you can type it in warning. So we should have all the warning letters in there. You can choose the warning letters that you want. Choose again, same thing, choose who you want to sign. But let's say, I'm not saying that a lot of time people sign the warning letters, but let's say if this is something that you want them to sign, or not to confuse you, I might just use letter of expectation. So a lot of time, what we would recommend, if it's a letter of expectation, we should give it to the employee to sign as well. And how do we do it in here? So you will see this tick box here, employee acknowledgement required. If you click that tick box, the system will then, instead of sending the letters, the system will then ask the employee to come in and sign and acknowledge the letters. Once they sign and acknowledge the letter, what would happen is the letter will then save against the profile, which I will show you after this. And then everything will be saved in there for both you and the employee to be able to review. And if you say, well, this case is done, so you can submit and then resolve it, or you can keep this case open as long as you want. Or if you say, and there's a lot of time when the employees, maybe once you have a meeting, they're really improved, but after, hopefully not after 6 months, they might starting to show the same behavior again. Then you can, if the case already been resolved, you can actually bring it back and make it open again and keep adding all the information into here.
Oh, perfect. I know it's a lot of information. The final section that I'm going to show you is what your employee view would look like as a manager. So you'd be able to come in, select who your team member is. Both you and the employee will be able to edit certain parts of this. However, there are certain sections that are locked down to only the primary admin, who will be able to adjust information. So that's around mostly around the bank account details and tax codes and residency status. So this is where the employee will be able to come in, adjust their emergency contact, adjust, maybe they move and need to change their address. That can all be recorded here. There's also the position descriptions, which are all recorded against each employee, as well as the employment history. So if an employee starts as an admin and then gets to go to an advisor and then consultant, you'd be able to track their employment journey as well, and that would all stay in this one place. We also have payroll details. So as I was saying, we do have this locked down. So once after the onboarding phase, this information will populate. If any of these fields need to be adjusted, it does have to go through that primary admin, just so that payroll can be notified of changes in these areas. And as well, we have the remuneration details as well. So if there's any variations throughout the course of employment, that will all track here as well. The final section is documents. So this is where any employment letter will save. All the employment documents from the onboarding will save here as well. And so it is just that one source of truth. You can also add like certifications. Maybe there's first aid certifications, or quite often we have forklift certifications that need to be added. Anything like that can be stored against the employee profile as well. So it is all in that one place and one source of truth. So with that, that's 45 minutes there. It's a nice quick overview of our system.
Thank you everyone so much for joining us for our very first platform demo. Thank you for being with us the whole time as well. Like I said before, we will have more demo like this more frequent in the next year, so we can take you into more details of each of our models, or if we have any updates, we can show it to you as well. But if you have any questions between now until then, feel free to contact us anytime. So yes, our phone numbers is here, or if you have any consultants you're dealing with currently, and if you have any questions, feel free to contact them. We work really closely, so I'm sure we'll all be able to answer any of your questions. Cool.
Perfect.
Wonderful. Well, thank you everyone for your time. I hope you'll enjoy lunch, just like what we were going to do soon. But thank you so much and enjoy your day.
Cool. Thank you, everybody.